Thank you, Mr. Connolly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome back, Mr. Secretary, and thank you for being here. Mr. Secretary, I don't want to talk at a political level today with you. I want to talk from the heart. And I want to talk about a matter of justice on behalf of one of my constituents, well known to you. I want to show you a picture. This picture took place on November 19th, 2017 in my district. I'm holding a cane because I had had a bad accident at a NATO meeting in Bucharest, Romania a few months before, and I still needed a cane to hobble around. Not the most flattering picture of me. Next to me is a man named Jamal Khashoggi. He's a mild-mannered man. He and I are discussing Middle East issues. He was a Saudi citizen, family, children, had on occasion worked for the Saudi government or for members of the royal family. He was mild-mannered, soft-spoken, and a moderate critic of the kingdom. He wanted to see modernization. He wanted to see reforms. He was a columnist sometimes for the Washington Post, our local newspaper here in Washington. On October 2nd, 2018, 11 months later, my constituent, a legal resident of the United States who lived in Tyson's Corner in Fairfax County, the Commonwealth of Virginia, was lured into the sovereign territory, consulate, of the Saudi government in Istanbul because he was seeking papers to get remarried. He had his fiancée outside waiting for him. He'd been to the consulate before, and they had lulled him into believing he would be safe. But of course, he wasn't. What we know was that on that day, 2 planes under the control of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia flew in with 2 teams whose objective was to either kidnap or kill Mr. Khashoggi. One presumes the objective involved killing because, not a diplomatic tool normally, they brought with them a bone saw. We know all of that because of revelations from Turkey. But those revelations, as I understand it, have been confirmed by our intelligence community. You'd know better than I. Nonetheless, what we do know is the Saudi government lied consistently. They lied about whether he safely left the consulate that day, knowing full well he did not. They lied about his murder. They lied about the conspiracy to murder him. They lied about who did it and how it was done. And I guess I want to show you another picture, Mr. Secretary. This is a picture that took place 14 days after the murder. And that shows you and the Crown Prince, whom many believe orchestrated and ordered the murder of Mr. Khashoggi, my constituent. And I guess what this picture raises is a question. At what point as Americans do we insist that the inalienable rights enumerated in our Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, all 3 of which were denied my constituent, Mr. Khashoggi, when do they trump diplomatic nicety? Is there ever a time when we're going to, as a country, insist, you know what, we're not going to do business as normal, and we are going to hold you to account? Now, at that meeting you said, I believe, that they would be held to account, but you were meeting with a man who was assuring you they would be held to account when he is himself suspected strongly of having orchestrated the murder. And so I guess I want to ask you, Mr. Secretary, were you aware of the fact at that point of the gruesome details of the murder of my constituent, Mr. Khashoggi? Did you discuss that murder with the Crown Prince? And how are we going to, moving forward, hold the Crown Prince and the Saudi government responsible for one of the most grisly episodes ever to occur in a consulate or an embassy in our diplomatic experience?
So you asked three questions there, I believe. The first one was what was my knowledge base. I think at that time I knew most of what had taken place, although I don't recall the exact sequence. I certainly have learned more about that since then. I've learned additional facts since that moment in time. Second question was, did I discuss the murder? The answer is yes. I think I said it that day that I had discussed the murder with him. And then the third question is, how will we hold them accountable? You've seen the Trump administration do just that with respect to 17 individuals. We are continuing all across the government, certainly in overt means and all the tools that we have in our capacity to learn more facts about this. And President Trump has made very clear that we will continue to work to identify those who are responsible for Jamal Khashoggi's murder and hold them accountable. I stand by that today. I'm sure
and Mr. Just a real quick one. And does that mean, Mr. Secretary, no matter how high up it might go?
I said anyone.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, sir.
And I pray we get justice for Mr. Khashoggi and his family and friends.
Thank you.
No, recognize.